Algas.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
And today we're speaking with Shelby Collinge, who's a life coach, author, speaker, and trainer, and she sells a lot of personal development products online. Shelby, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk today about success mindset, which I know is one of your passions. Why is mindset so important when we're talking about success?
Because everyone has one, and the reality is that it'll either work for you or against you, and most people have it working against them a lot of the time, and they're not conscious of that fact. It's like they go on, they start a project, and then that voice kicks in saying, you'll never do it, you've never done it before, it's going to be hard, people won't believe you, you're not going to make the money you want, and it's like they believe that voice more than that initial idea voice that said, hey, let's try this, or let's go and start a business.
Okay, well, the little voice is part of them. So they trust it because, you know, they think it's their instinct or they think it's their intuition. So how do they overcome that little voice?
Well, you don't overcome it, but you want it to be more of a friend than a foe.
Okay.
So it does, the truth is you never really get rid of that voice. It will quiet down a little bit and maybe not chirp quite so much. But you're right, the voice will always be there. But again, the key is to enable it to chew on. The mind's like a dog with a bone, and it kind of just chews and goes, and the thoughts think. I always tell people, you know, first you think a thought, and then that thought begins to think. So you think a thought like, I can't do this, and then that thought thinks, you're right, you've never done it before, this is something outside our comfort zone. And so it kind of just
spirals.
It snowballs and spirals, exactly. So rather than allowing that to happen all day, you've got to get on the deliberate side of the fence, which means choosing what you put in your mind, choosing what you listen to, choosing what you post on Facebook. You know, it's really interesting, social media these days. There's a lot of people out there with a lot to say, and it's usually not positive. It's usually about the gripes of the day, something that's happened, bad service, somebody that didn't do something that they were supposed to do, get a load of this, bad news, and then you find that, and then you find more, and before you know it, you're mad, before you know it, you're upset, before you know it, you're depressed, and then people go to bed, turn off the television, or call somebody that they haven't talked to in a while, and then wonder why it's not a good experience. So
okay, but that's human nature. When things happen to us that are bad, we're going to complain about it, and in some ways, it's cathartic. It's like getting it off your chest. It's like you feel better after you share it with someone who can say, oh, I feel so, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. So, why is it bad? Why is it bad to share?
Well, it's not bad, and women need to do this more than men. Men don't need to complain
Sharing
quite
is
so
bad.
much. In fact, you know, it's like women usually want to know more about what's happened in the man's day, and the guy's like, I don't want to talk about it.
We had a hamburger and a nap.
Right. But the reality is, I tell people, you notice how many times. If you do it more than 3 times, you're addicted to it. So I believe, too, in getting it off your chest and sharing it with somebody, but 3 times. If you've got to call that 4th person, or then tweet about it just one more time, or then go on to LinkedIn and say, you know what, I need to post this here too, then it's you, right? Then it's really this addiction to either need to be heard or just need to be gripey, and you have to begin to notice that. You know, a lot of people don't want to self-monitor all that often, and I tell people you don't have to sit there going, oh, I thought a bad thought, oh, I thought a bad thought, but really notice what your mood is, because your mood is like the snapshot of what's going in underneath the hood. And so if you're grumpy, or you get road ragey, or you have a short temper with the kids, that's all indicators that you've got a story going on or a thought process that is not a good one.
Okay. So on the flip side of the coin, we've got the positive thinkers who will ignore the bad stuff that's happening. They'll be in denial and, oh no, life's just so wonderful. And,
Wait, some people are actually that positive.
But if you deny it, it doesn't go away, right? Like you're really
If you're faking it,
you're just putting a coat of white paint over a rutty fence. You're not really dealing with the issue.
But some people are actually happy. Some people are. They say those things.
Way to go for the happy people.
It's okay to be happy.
Okay,
And post about it.
That's right. I am. No,
you are, but
But for those who are faking it.
No. For those who are faking it,
Hiding
yes.
Well, let's
For
face
those
it.
who are not,
Let's
for
face
those
it.
who are denying the negative and
Pushing
seeking the
down
yes.
the negative.
Life happens, okay?
Yes.
There's nobody that gets through life unscathed. Let's just be real about that, okay?
Yeah.
Things will happen, divorce, failed relationships, money. Everybody kind of goes through life experiences. However, how hard or how light you take those and what you make them mean in terms of whether they're a deterrent, whether, I can't tell you how many times I've failed at things in business, marketing campaigns. I was a professional dancer for 10 years. There's a lot of things that I failed at the first 10, 20, 30, 40 times. And then it was like I learned so much from each one of those experiences. By that 51st time, I was a pro.
Yeah.
And people usually give up before the third attempt.
Okay.
And it usually does take 11 attempts or more. So you really have to kind of think about, you don't want to get deterred like, oh, life's over, but you don't want to sugar paint anything that happens. I tell people if it's happened more than 3 times, then you're the common denominator.
It's that magic 3.
It really
Yeah,
is.
if what's happened more than 3 times? The postings? Or
Well, or the negative experience, like she was talking
The
about.
repeating patterns.
The repeating things
like,
with.
What do you mean exactly happening? Something bad happening in life more than 3 times?
Yes, like the same thing, like
Because then it's you. You're
losing
the
3 jobs
Okay.
in a row,
So then
or
it's more
3
than
failed
coincidence.
relationships,
Okay.
right? You can really start to, I had a gal that called me and said, I want you to have a session with 3 guys that I'm dating, and I want you to fix this with one, and fix this with one, and fix this with one. And I said, but if I fix you and your perceptions, I could only work with one. I don't have to work with 4. See how much easier that would
But
be?
it's them. They have the problem.
That's right. See, that's what people always want to say. It's like they don't want to believe that themselves had anything to do with anything wrong happening. But the
Right.
thing I always tell people is the common denominator in each one of your problems is you.
Yeah.
So we can't lose that perspective at all either. Like something about if you keep manifesting these same types of incidents, then there's something that you're not learning.
So what are some actionable steps that people can take if they find themselves in this situation? Posting more than 3, breaking your 3 rule on Facebook, God forbid, or having the same thing happen more than 3 times. What can they do to clean that up?
Well, it's to stop doing what you're doing, right? The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same things over and over
expecting
again
different
and
results.
expecting magically like something brilliant's gonna happen. Like, I know I can just keep doing this. I know I can keep saying this. I know I can keep calling these people. I have this thing where I tell people to go through and really put, but for sake of simplicity, a plus or a minus, like if their person is a positive person in your life or if they tend to be more of a drag, someone you have to lift up, somebody you have to always say, oh, it's going to get better. And a lot of people, when they do that, 90% of the people that they associate with are negatives, if not more, right? It's like they're not a peppy, you can do it, I know you look great in that outfit, really more positive. And we choose who we associate with. This is the thing that, again, people don't really want to own. Like what you watch on TV, what programs you watch, what songs you listen to, those all are thoughts that begin to think. And if you have problems where things start getting a little sideways, then you have to readjust what's going in. I always tell people life's a mirror. And if it's hellacious on the outside, then you know what's going on, and that marble that's rolling around up there is not good either.
So let's say they've got friends who are negative and saying negative things to them. What should they do with those friends?
They should limit time with those friends.
Okay.
They should seek out, like again with social media, it makes it easy too, right? You can find positive groups. You can find people that are looking at the brighter side of things. You can acknowledge to them, like, I really like you, but gosh, you're kind of not a happy camper.
You're being a downer.
Like I
right
say
now.
this, family
Well, Heather
especially.
doesn't like when people post positive things.
No,
Right.
here's the difference. You said something very clear. You said it took a lot of failures to become a success in various things that you tried.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I love failure. I love mistakes, as weird as that
She wants your
sounds,
negative postings.
because it's my opportunity to learn something. It's my opportunity to grow. It's my opportunity to become stronger. So what I like to do is I look for the silver lining within the cloud, but I don't deny that the cloud exists.
Right.
And my difference was the people who deny that there's a cloud, woo, look at all the sunshine, when it's clearly raining.
Well,
You know?
so failure is feedback, to your point. That's what I always tell people.
Okay.
Failure is just feedback. But the key to remember is that we have to take 100% responsibility for what's happening in our lives. Because
Okay.
if you don't, then you are absolutely powerless to change anything.
Yeah.
And this really goes back to, if everybody you are associating with is negative, then that's a choice you are making.
Or fake
Yeah.
positive.
Or fake positive, and that has consequences. Everything counts.
Yeah.
Everything counts. So if you are choosing, even though they are the downer, to call them, to text them, to interact with them, to keep going back to that well, then you have to expect things in life to not go so swimmingly for you. Like
Yeah.
they tend to get a little rocky. So people, when I say to them, you need to take 100% responsibility, they're like, no, this is not my fault that this happened, and it's not my fault that, but I'm like, but you're there. So we have to give credence to that, if
Yeah.
only a little bit.
Yeah.
And like the example with the gal wanting to change the 3 men, we changed her perception, and it was like, oh, that, boom, all 3, I didn't have to meet with those 3 other people. But again, we always want to say it's their problem. If we're noticing it, then it's our problem, because now it's on my dial.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was going to ask. Can I talk?
Yeah.
So the what question? So the actions that they can take. I want to make sure everybody's got something they can do. So limit your negative friends and your fake positive friends, perhaps. What else can they do?
Notice. See, you cannot do something that doesn't serve you consciously. So if you really watched yourself smoking a cigarette in the mirror, or really watched yourself drinking or becoming intoxicated, there's a part of your brain that would look at this differently. But a lot of us, we do everything so habitually, we're not even conscious.
And there's that denial again.
That we're doing it. Which is where the denial comes in, right? Because it's like, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's my mom, I love her, but she doesn't even know that she goes, oh, about everything first. That's her first reaction,
Oh,
is
that's
melt.
my mom too.
Is melt.
Yeah.
My first reaction is, no matter what it is, we can handle this. And so between the two of us, it's like, I want to wring her neck, and she's like, can you have any feelings? And it's like, but everybody learns differently. But the fact of the matter is, she suffers by what she does. So noticing, hey, you know what? This has happened to me before. I have had this same experience 13 times. Maybe I have something to do with it.
Maybe I'm 10 over the limit.
Right?
Or the posting limit?
Over the pattern limit.
Yes,
It's still
the
free.
posting
Yeah.
pattern. Yes.
Right.
Posting patterns. Yeah.
That's a real
habits, whatever
easy
it
one
is.
that people can start to notice. The phone calls too. Who you call when things hit the fan. Maybe start reversing who you call. Maybe,
What do you mean by reversing?
well, like maybe if you call the best friend, that'll be like, oh, I so know what's happening. I agree. That happened to me last night. Blah, blah. Call the one at the bottom of the list that you usually call 10th in line. Call them first and see if you get a different response, right? Because again, if we keep doing what we keep doing, we'll keep getting what we've got. So we have to change that. But again, noticing is the first step. It's kind of like they say in addiction, acknowledging it, admitting it is like one of the first things. They're saying, hey, I need help with this. And a lot of people are like, no, my life's great. Even though everything's falling apart. It's like, no, I had nothing to do with it. I wouldn't change a thing. And it's like, really? Really? You got to get honest about if things aren't working, and really honest.
At the very least, you attracted it and you allowed it. Whatever's been happening. Even if you can say, oh no, he did this, she did the whatever. Part of that may be true. But you were part of the dynamic.
Well, being as though it landed in your reality, there's
Yeah.
something in it for you, right?
Right.
People want to just say, oh, that just was happenstance. It's like, but it happened. So
Yeah.
there's something in it. And I tell people, if you don't learn it, it comes back in uglier ways in later days. You do not get to skip the life lesson. So it just comes back another grade, another course harder, a lot more challenging. So it's like, now I have this son, he's going to be 21, and it's like I say to him, stay conscious through this. Learn this lesson now so you don't have to learn it when you're 30 and it's going to be a lot harder and you have a wife and 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, really get this lesson now. And a lot of us don't want to do that. We just rather pull the covers over our eyes, say, no, I don't have an issue, I want to avoid it. And then it comes back, 3 years later again.
So in terms of the success mindset that you get people into, so one thing is eliminate that, eliminate excessive exposure to negative friends or fake positive friends, and be conscious of it. What else would you say is important as far as success mindset goes?
I would say, get some outside perspective. There's books, you could follow people like me on Twitter, get around people that are going where you want to go and thinking the way you want to think. That's the key too, is a lot of people want instant results but don't want to invest anything of their time, of their money. So, there's lots of professionals that can help, and websites you can go to, and free materials. And remember, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's what you got to tell yourself.
I like it. Where can
That's
people
awesome.
hear more about you and learn more about you?
And follow you on Twitter.
Yeah.
ShelbyCollinge.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelby.
SHELBYCOLLINGE.com.
Thanks, Shelby.
Thank you, Steve.